Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hope we'll have a great panel today. We have on our title, which is Cybersecurity Breach, Information Security, and the best thing is what is left in this regard. So today, hopefully, our panelists will elaborate on all of those points that has been to be raised. I don't want to spend more time on the introduction. I will leave the floor first to Albion. Albion, can you have the first, please, speech for you?
Hi, Tori. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Thank you. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to be discussing about the ISO 27001 standard and the importance of it, of being certified and being in compliant with it. Also, the benefits that they come out from this certification and standard towards compliance with GDPR. Just a little bit. I want to leave the floor for the others then to explain maybe more about the GDPR and what kind of the annex controls can help in compliance with data privacy. So ISO 27001 is itself a standard for information security management systems that the company should comply if they want to have security in place. This standard one itself is a security framework that helps companies get stronger and get safer online and working with the electronic data. So there are also other security frameworks as NIST 800 and other frameworks that the companies should comply. Depends with whom they are working, where they are located, and what they want to achieve. Always ISO 27001 and other security frameworks start by doing the risk assessment, getting the leadership commitment from the security framework as ISO 27001 starts from top to bottom. Let's say that the company, for example, we will maybe better to take the examples. Gas company or oil company will have to comply with some security standards. They have to do the ISMS that starts from top. They take the leadership commitment and they do the risk appetite. So this is done by the internal auditor or information security officer inside that company. If they see that the company leadership is committed to fulfill their commitment to cybersecurity and information security, they will take these and do the risk assessment to see what are the gaps of the company, what are the requirements to do the business, and what the partner requirements are to do the business. So they have to, or they should comply with these framework and security requirements. For example, if they are working with the documents and they have online storage, they have to do a risk assessment to see what kind of the provider they have selected, first of all, and then to see the gaps and to see how the organization is prepared to close these gaps, or if there are any gaps. They have to put security in place, like to put encryption, to put the other security measures like need to know basis, who is accessing that data and stuff like that. So by doing this, the internal auditor will start to do the information security policy. And by creating this information security policy, they will put the requirements of the company and doing work to also to get the compliance with the ISO 27001. So how now will affect this in compliance to GDPR requirements Also depends on the company where it's located. As for example, I'm from Kosovo, and we are doing business here. Kosovo has its own data protection law based on EU GDPR, and if we work in Kosovo and locally, not doing business with the outside world, for example, we need to comply only with that data protection requirement regulation or law. And if we do that, and if we check the law, and if we check the GDPR requirements, it has a lot to do with the ISO 27001. It's not 100%. If you are 100% ISO 27001, you comply with the EU GDPR, for example, 20 to 30% of it. So in part of the security of the electronic data and the privacy. If you do work with the EU country, or if you partner or offshore the services to EU, then you need to comply with some more requirements that they have put on EU GDPR. So it's, from my opinion and from my experience, we try here in our company to comply as much as possible with ISO 27001 by putting the security by default and security by design in our documentation and requirements towards our employees. And first of all, what we do the training for employees, and we aware them about the ongoing threats and expected threats, and how the other companies get breached from the hacking and stuff like that. So we are prepared with the business continuity plan and with the disaster recovery. Also, we have in place some processes that will do the screening of the staff whom we are taking in work and stuff like that, which is a EU GDPR requirement, not to go further inside to breach the privacy of the subjects, but at least to have known the employees with whom we are working, and the services that we are giving, they are reliable and they are secure. First, and the other stuff that is required by the law, and it's in place in ISO 27001 security framework, is that we need to check also the cloud services and the premises where we are working, with whom we are working, and etc. So in general, as I don't want to take more time and go further in details, leave the floor, for example, later on for our other colleagues, that they will speak maybe from different aspects and the different experiences in their companies and in their countries. In Kosovo, we need to comply with more maybe than it's required, because Kosovo towards Europe and maybe United States is seen as a third country. So we need to do much more to show the commitment that we would like to be secured, and we are secured. And the work we do with our partners, it's always been in the standards where we meet the European and the United States standards toward working. So in all of this that I said, it's that how we do this, it's by doing the policies and procedures put in place, see the requirements of the law, see the requirements of the European Union requirements, see the United States requirements, and we put in place in policy, we put in place in processes, and we put also in place in practice. Because you have a lot of companies, for example, in different countries, they put policies, procedures in the paper, and they do not practice that what they put there. We try to do this by auditing ourselves, doing self-assessment, doing self-risk assessment, and see the data impact assessment after we implement a lot of policies and procedures in place. How we do that? By the controls, Annex A control from the ISO 27001 helps us very much by answering these questions where they are asked in the controls, and answering by putting in a paper, putting in an administrative way, and in practice we comply with these, and I hope we'll continue like that. So this is my part. I tackled a little bit about ISO 27001. I said something like being in compliance with the ISO 27001. We are in compliance also with lot of requirements from the European Union General Data Protection Regulation and the requirements of the NIST 800 and COBIT requirements. Also, if I want to say for the opinion, this is from my perspective, from my experience in my company, but other companies, as I said, maybe gas companies and oil companies, they may think that they don't need to comply with these, but it's wrong to think like that, because you have the data of your partners, you have the data of your employees and data with whom you're working. So it's always good to comply with these, with this standard or other standard that you select, and depend with whom you are working. Or for example, I would take the pharmaceutical company. If they work they have a factory and they produce the pharmaceutics, and they have partners in United States or in Europe, they need to comply also with other standards and other requirements from the law that are required. For example, in United States, you will be asked to have been compliant with HIPAA, and if you have also implemented in place the payment online and stuff like that, you need to comply with PSI DSS requirements. So these are the from the general perspective. And I want to say that if you check the ISO 27001, you don't have anything there out of the box for each company, but it tells you in general how you should protect your valuable, that is, information. And by doing that, then your auditor or your information security officer will take the requirements of the company by doing the assessment and risk appetite to see their company, how much they want to spend on the security, and what they want to achieve with that. So I would like to thank you, Tony. And
you, Albion,
if you have any question or something, like from
we have a line, a few questions for you, my friend.
Okay.
You're not going to escape that easy.
Okay.
Okay, the first question is coming from CDC now from the participants. One of the question is, what is the difference between encryption carried out as a process control to secure the data versus the cryptographic controls in the ISO 27001 standard?
So if I understand this question, it should be almost similar, because the ISO controls, as I said, that they don't have anything in the standard, nothing is out of the box, and it won't tell you to this date what kind of the encryption you should use. But you should use the encryption which is available, and try to comply with it. So ISO 27001, it tells you need to secure this or that, in this case encryption. So you need to encrypt your data. You need to check, for example, you cannot use the encryption of 5 years ago and put it in place now. So you always have to be up to date with the encryptions, and you need to do that by checking all the time. After you implement, you need to check afterwards if that what you have implemented already is in place and it's still ongoing and as a requirement.
Okay. Great. Another vague question, if you want. It's a big one that requires from a lot of answers. However, I'm just going to say it to you, and hopefully you can elaborate on this. How can we secure data from hacking?
Okay, securing data from hacking, you need to take from different perspectives. Depends what how you're working. For example, if you have a server in premise, you need to put the firewall, you need to put the intrusion detection system that is that fulfills the requirement of being secure. First of all, you need to invest in technology. You need to have encryption in place. But the most important is that you need to have trainings in place for your staff, awareness trainings at all the time, not every day, but you need always to be I mean, with the latest news and with the latest information that is available. Information security officer should deliver time to time, once a month, for example, or depends how the situation is outside. You need to deliver the awareness training sessions to employees. This is very important because in the cybersecurity and information security chain, the weakest point in this chain, it's a human being. Due to that fact, that the human being is a weakest cybersecurity point in the cybersecurity chain. You need to deliver as much as possible training, as much as possible to be relevant with what is going on. We have a lot of cases and lot of headlines in the news that a lot of companies are getting breached, and first of all, or mostly, this is coming due to the low staff awareness, low employee awareness toward cybersecurity happenings, and usually by phishing, hackers get the access to your data. So this is the first thing that you need to be aware and to be prepared. It's with the staff awareness trainings.
Great. One interesting question as well. You mentioned that ISO 27001 covers some of the clauses in GDPR. One of the question is, you said they are saying that 30% is covered of GDPR are covered. Which clause are covered? I want to know which clauses in ISO cover GDPR, the 30% of GDPR, or more than 30% actually.
Yeah. Thank you for this question. It's in the ISO 27001. First of all, you have you have to do the risk assessment. So GDPR needs from companies to see how much the company is prepared. So by doing your risk assessment and see the gaps you have in the company, you find out the gaps and you try to control these. And in the part of information security, GDPR requires the privacy to be protected. So if you are a company that you have a list of emails to do marketing, for example, and you put in place you put in place the security measures that the emails are or information, private information of your subjects or your contact list is secured, and it's as GDPR requires security by default and security by design. You have to design your system that not all of employees will see these emails and private information. So the need to know basis, which is required by the EU GDPR, it's also a control in the ISO 27001. So if you have secured that not everyone has access to this information, I'm taking example for emails and the emailing list on your company. So if you do that, you are some percentage in compliance with the law. The ISO 27001 tells you that you need to do encryption. GDPR requirements says that your information should be encrypted. So also this part is covered.
Okay.
GDPR.
I'm sorry, I have to cut now.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
We want to leave a space for others. I don't want to dwell about this. Okay, Shannon, I leave the floor for you now. Please, can you start your session?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Albion. So I think Albion touched a little bit on something that I wanted to talk about, which is the great deal of scrutiny following the SolarWinds and Acelion data breaches, and the result of those data breaches. Really, as the investigation has continued into the SolarWinds breach, and more clients of Acelion have come forward to disclose data breaches, I think organizations and their leaders are beginning to see the depth and the breadth of just how third-party risk and supply chain attacks can affect their organizations. And as a result, privacy breach, even if they as an organization are taking cybersecurity seriously and they are implementing controls, these third-party breaches are causing problems for these companies. When we think specifically to ISO, there are several that come into mind for third-party risk management and privacy of personal information, such as ISO 27001, which Albion talked quite a bit about, but you can't forget 27002 and 27701, which also cover more than just third-party risk management, but also have components that directly deal with vendor access to and handling of personal data, systems access that you get to vendors, and of course the risk management systems. And with the SolarWinds breach, we find that some of the most advanced technical companies were unaware that they were being attacked and that there was a data breach happening, and for months, until one company, FireEye, came forward to share information about attack they were seeing inside their own environment. And through the ensuing investigation, we're continuing to find out more information about the attack, and how widespread it is just through a single third-party provider, SolarWinds. As for the Acelion breach, I think companies are also starting to seriously think about the age of their systems and the software systems that they're using, because it was that extremely outdated software secure file sharing system that caused a breach that's affecting millions of people worldwide and some really large organizations. It was that secure file transfer software that had the 0-day vulnerability in it, but that software was about 20 years old and was being sunsetted in April of this year. Acelion actually said that they've been urging their clients to move off that old system for the past 3 years and move on to their new system. But some organizations will dig their heels in and they don't want to move to new systems. But I think due to that breach and the number of companies that are coming forward and the number of people that are affected, I really think companies are going to start taking a more serious look at the older systems and the vulnerabilities that those systems can be introducing into their organizations. Another good example recently from the United States about how the age of systems can introduce vulnerabilities is the recent hack that happened over the Super Bowl weekend at the water treatment plant in Florida. That happened earlier this month. Basically, during that investigation, in addition to using TeamViewer and using the same credentials, it was found that these critical infrastructure systems at the water treatment plant were still running Windows 7. So I think some things that organizations are finding out also is that despite if a breach is the fault of a third party, let's say SolarWinds or Acelion, the organization that has to go notify the company or their clients, they're still being held liable for the breach, and they ultimately pay the legal and financial responsibility for the breach. So as a result, we're seeing now also class action lawsuits filed in the United States against third parties like Acelion, who've had these data breaches that have resulted in other data breaches of their customers. Basically, those customers are trying to recoup the costs and try to make sure that they are able to pay for like the credit monitoring that we required in the United States with data breaches and such. It's the DMV in the state of California. Pretty much anybody that was getting a driver's license in the state of California has been affected by the Acelion breach, and therefore the DMV is most likely going to file a class action lawsuit because they have to offer credit monitoring to all those people that had their data compromised, not necessarily the fault of the DMV, but because of third-party software vendor that they were using. And really, I hope what will happen with all these widely publicized breaches is that it kind of brings third-party risk management to the forefront of organizational's business strategy. Because I think for far too long, a lot of companies have just taken the word of vendors that those vendors have good cybersecurity, and companies have come to regret not taking more time to do due diligence. And I think it's important that companies build a third-party risk management into their data protection strategy and really start asking hard questions of the vendors about how those third parties protect the data that the organization shares information with or gives them access to. And I wanted to quickly also, a little separately from the ISO topic, talk about something termed data breach fatigue. Basically, what does that mean and what happens with it? And data breach fatigue is kind of an interesting phenomenon. So data breach fatigue means that we as consumers or as business owners have gotten so used to hearing about data breaches that we simply accept the fact that our data has been compromised and that the theft of our data is inevitable. And that fatigue has resulted in a lot of people not taking any steps to change their behaviors or protect themselves after a breach. And I've seen a statistic as far as something like 60% of people don't change their passwords after those passwords have been compromised in a credential breach. Here in the US, about 2 years ago, there was a credential stuffing attack against the Ring camera system, and hundreds of consumers in the United States had their systems compromised, where basically attackers created an automated tool that cycled through compromised credentials that had shown up in data breach forums and basically run that tool against the Ring platform and got into all these accounts that didn't have any two-factor authentication enabled, and basically kind of showed us the impact that failing to perform some of the simplest cyber hygiene tasks of changing passwords after breach and not using the same password for multiple accounts can have on consumers. You know, this idea of the acceptance that data breaches are just going to happen, so we should live with it, has kind of resulted, at least in the US, with investors and companies and the public market taking kind of a softer approach to companies that had suffered data breaches, where, let's say, a decade before, when a data breach happened, the stocks would drop significantly if the company is publicly traded. Consumers would be extremely wary of doing business with the company. But now, with this new, data breach fatigue phenomenon, we've kind of adopted this new attitude of when the news comes out about a data breach, we just kind of shrug it off and say, oh, well, another day, another data breach. But, as a cybersecurity professional, that's concerning us because I don't think we should just accept that cybersecurity failings are the norm and that they are okay. For instance, me personally, if I just suffered from data breach fatigue, it would not have bothered me at all when a year ago I received a letter in the mail telling me that the information of my 8-year-old daughter had been compromised in a medical data breach. Or better example, maybe if you're in Bengal, India, and you were tested for COVID-19 recently, did you just assume that the health department would not properly secure their website and would just leak your information and the results of 8 million other citizens out on the web for anybody to take a look at? Now, if you're suffering from data breach fatigue, you just shrug it off as a breach. But if you're like me, you'd be bothered. And I'm sure most of you are like me and would advocate that, we should absolutely have confidence that if we are sharing our sensitive personal information with a company, that we can be confident in the fact they're taking every precaution and taking steps to make sure that they protect our privacy and protect the privacy of any information that we may share with them and the company. But, that's just my 2 cents on the topic.
I want to comment on this, Shannon. Actually, I would like to take the position of the end user. Okay, At the end, I am an end user. You request from me to change always my password, to do everything, to be to scrutiny everything that anyone asks about my information data, personal data. At the end, one day a breach comes from Yahoo, another breach comes from somewhere. It's not me who is involved, and my data is out on the internet, on the wild. And you asked me not to be to have that breach fatigue. I cannot. I'm taking the position. I'm not saying I'm with that. I'm just trying to take the position of an end user. That's why I think this is my opinion, that this is why we can experience this fatigue. What do you think?
I somewhat agree with you. You know, I think it's the fact that there's been so many breaches of our data, and we're just being bombarded constantly with, you know, Yahoo had a data breach and Verizon had a data breach, and, you know, your information over here has been compromised in here, and you can't trust your health information. You know, you can't even trust your government entities anymore to keep your data safe. You know, it's hard because, you know, at one side, being from a cybersecurity professional standpoint, you know, yes, if your data is compromised, I would like you to change your password. And a little bit, my point I was trying to make is, you know, we're constantly being bombarded by the news, but we shouldn't be complacent. We shouldn't accept that it is inevitable and that it's okay for our data to be breached. I think we need to start holding companies more accountable for the data that we're trusting them with.
Yes, excellent point. This is what I was looking for. Thanks, Shannon, for really exciting session with you. I don't know if there is any question. We can keep it till the end because we're running out of time. We won't keep something. Okay, without further delay, I will move to our next speaker. It should be Divya.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
So, like as Shannon mentioned, like a lot of example for the real life based on the like cybersecurity and what type of recent attack happened in the US and in different countries. So I really like these attacks are like really happen daily basis, and it's increased day by days. What I'm like today wants to talk about, I'm more talk about the how we like ISO 27001 like auditing and compliance help us to prevent this type of attacks and make it help us the all type of organization like medium, small and large size of organization. So it's not like if your organization or company are a small size or large medium size, it's not that mean you don't need to be ISO 27 satisfied. So you need certification and for your data security, for your organization clients data security. So all it's upon your, it's also depend on your standard wise. So like why, like if people asking like why ISO 27 audit means, like they don't understand the exactly meaning of the auditing and compliance for the ISO 27. So for me, I want to talk like every organization like undergoes an audit, and to evaluate of information management system is such a auditing are done against the ISO 27 2013. So standard integrating requirement, and the purpose of the auditing and determine the organization is using the information based on the like policies you develop for your protecting your organization or the standard or procedure what you follow, and the self potential threats. So these auditing is known as like a also as known as like ISO 27 audits, and the main depends on the what type of organization size. So you can do the external or internal audits both, and the main focus or purpose of this auditing is prevent your data or data security and threat and threat to be like secure, like vulnerability or confidentiality and integrity of the sensitive data informations, and the check on the organization equipment details and threats. So these are the like on the base more into the securing your data on the base of three availability, confidentiality and integrity based, and CIA it's called. So this is a like a one of the major or basic standard we are following to doing the auditing of for the ISO 27. And like if you are asking about like why these screening to ISO 27 compliance are important, or what is the benefit of like ISO 27.1. So the major benefits improve the like improving data security. Data security, like basic, it's help to escape the ultra safe for data security, like management system. Like it's providing the world a standard or framework to your data security. That through the implement your understand your own security landscape and most updated digital defense about the mechanism. So like it's also helped to improve the process and strategy. Like while you implement the ISO 27, it puts in the cyber strategies and front end, and the like it's a certification and it's a quality auditing seeking. So it's also help in the training your employees and providing the awareness about the what type of secure threats or attack in happening right now. And as well as is also like providing the culture of contributing improvement, continuously improvement. You're like uh, uh, to adopting the new technologies, and also like if you want to not aware that this type of attack comes in the part of the malware attack or ransomware attack. So they also help to the train the employees to understand that this type of attack and how it's happened. Like in the one of the in UAE, a lot of people are facing the phishing attacks and malware attacks. So the people what they in corporate field, they downloaded the all the emails, they click on wanted links and open the invoices in the form of the phishing attack. So if we train the employees and we understand, like they can understand like how the phishing attacks look like, how can we identify what are the, if the some email or invoice coming in your system, it's go through the your firewall or use the some antivirus software in your system. It's need to be aware the people how important day to secure your data, because right now nowadays the data is a goal for everyone. Like if I have your data, if I have your personal information access, I can do whatever I want, and I can access like I want, like I can track you overall the world. Like it doesn't mean it's I'm inside your country or nearby you. So the data security is very important. If you are sharing with your third party or and other clients, or the clients share data with you, it must be like secure, because the data, it's also like providing the your finance, also getting your financial information. So this is like one of the challenging like the company have to face. And now I also want to discuss about the latest trend about in the cybersecurity. The in 2020 they adopt. So we recently seeing the integrating of AI with the cybersecurity. So AI is also help us to identify the like um, all the it help us to understand the threat detection, and also understand the automation of the understanding of the unwanted attack or more than attack. If the more than one, the people try to access your system more than one time, or like 30 times or 300 times, they also help us to identify the this is a unauthorized access. The people are already try the most of time. So the AI is has been like paramount in the building of automation system, security system. So natural languages is a processing like a it's help us like face detection, automatic threat detection. And through this development of this like AI to with the cybersecurity, it's helped to understand the malware attacks, like how malware attacks there's a different type of malware attack. So you can identify the type of malware attacks to automatically, like we can train our machine with the help of machinery language to identify the different type of attack. And these attacks like with the like it's help us a organization to prevent before like something happen. So it's just like a it's not like you have to be take action when the attack happen. It's also like providing the security before the attack happen. So like I think this is a one of the like great uh, like start in the like in 2021 the people are like really implemented and started a lot of conferences and real model to see the like where the AI is helped with the cybersecurity, integrated the cybersecurity, and also like one of the rising the automating hacking. So automative hacking is a like modern vessel is nowadays like when the you are automated the software system with a seamless connectivity devices and control engine and other networking. It's helped to identify like if you connect with the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and other technology, it's helped you to understand how what type of attack is it and how you can identify this type of attacks. So I think this is these 2-3 points are like really appreciated, like the people are in trend and they want to know under the which type of attack is it.
Okay, thanks, Diva.
Yes.
We're running out of time, so let's we'll wrap it up as much as we can. The floor is yours, Debarshi. Please, can you start? Then last but least, we will end up with Krishna.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all based on the geography. So our topic is basically data privacy breach. So I heard my colleagues, so they are more into, they have focused more into the corporate data privacy breach. So I will try to like more focus on user data privacy breach. Because as we know that in any of the concepts in business continuity, we talk about like human are the primary paramount importance. So like when in case of any incident, when you talk about that human are paramount importance, but why not in kind of a like data privacy breach? So that where we should be very, very like whatever we do in our corporate, whatever we do, we are very important about data privacy. So this data belongs to whom? This data belongs to the consumer, like to whom we are actually giving service. We are collecting data, and now it is our responsibility as being a controller or maybe the processor, that how we can control that data, how we can secure the data. And that exactly will give confidence in any of the client that that you are actually managing the data in a secure way. So I mean, to a very the definition, data privacy describes the practices that ensure the data has shared by the customers is only used for the intended purpose. So now, why we are more why we are very much serious about data privacy nowadays? I mean, why it was not very paramount importance in the past. So now, and as internet usage has increased over the years, now we know that last 1 year we are all glued to our home, like our residence, and entire business is actually running through online. So you can understand, like at home, we are having, along with our like daily work, we are also like accessing various sites. Now to a corporate, I'm moving from corporate to the user basis. Like all our children are glued to like online classes. Now, as we are mature professionals, we may be like more careful about what is a acceptable use of internet. But as they are young, I mean, it is very difficult for them to understand the importance of a data breach. They may share any personal data. I mean, they may like share any kind of a photograph, they may share. They accidentally share the like address book of the mobile they are using. So the question is that now how we can understand the gravity of this user privacy. Now it may like lead to it may lead to various things. Like it may actually understands the user's behavior. Like where, I mean, suppose I have booked some movie tickets, or I have booked some like railway tickets or flight tickets. Definitely, I will definitely, that information is actually going to the web, and they can collect my information where I'm supposed to go. And uh, and and nowadays, like in today's world, like in COVID-19 situation, everything we are doing online. I mean, we are actually purchasing a lot of things online only. Now, although we are using a lot of applications or online applications which are really like trusted, but to a large extent, they are actually not. I mean, they're not actually controlling the data. I mean, there's no definition that what they are controlling, what they're. We are not actually going to their like website and checking that how much they are in control. I'm in corporate, we are really serious about it. But I mean, if I am like having any cloud service, I mean, I am outsourcing my application to the cloud service. We are really concerned about our corporate data, but how much we are concerned about our personal data? I think, I mean, there is again a debate kind of a situation. So we should be like definitely like in corporate, we talked about the technologies which are actually controlling the data privacy. There are encryptions, there are access control, there are two-factor authentication. However, in case like as I mentioned in my previous some time back, that we are more concerned about the user privacy where we are at home. I mean, there are very few cases where we talk about encryption in our personal life. We talk about access control in our personal life. We talk about two-factor authentication in our personal life, except Gmail or a few applications. So now, why? I mean, we should be like more oriented towards. I mean, we should be more oriented towards data privacy. We should be more aware that what data we are actually sharing. I mean, any applications we are downloading on our mobiles, it may be iPhone, it may be like Android phones. There are cases. I mean, how many of us are actually reading those like kind of a policies that we are sharing this data? Definitely, we want the application, right? And we have to like, I mean, we want that application. We want that application to be used for our purpose. So we say yes, and they can. I mean, unknowingly we are we're not understanding it properly, and we are saying yes. So what I mean in terms of like how we can build this, we can change the culture. So what, as I assume, being an information security officer of one of the good organization, one of the like supply chain management kind of domain owners. So I believe that we have to believe or we have to build a data privacy culture, not a data privacy program, because data privacy program is more of a theoretical, more of a like practical, but the more is you have to make the culture. I mean, in that way you can change the organization. You can change you can reduce the data threats, data security breaches. Now, one more thing, like as Tony.
Debarshi, sorry, can I ask you a question here? Isn't this is the responsibility of the governments to talk about, to issue laws about like GDPR in our region? So at the end, this culture will be built based on those regulations and laws from different countries?
Definitely, yes. To that extent, yeah, definitely. That is why, like in different countries, they are coming up with the data privacy laws. They are coming with, like, as Europe Union, they have come up with GDPR. As they are, I mean, CCPA is coming. There are individual, like in India, there, I mean, the data privacy like policy or law is coming. So, I mean, definitely, these laws are only because of the consequences of the data breaches recorded in their country. So and again, like as we know that data breaches are definitely there, but how many are getting reported? I mean, there are data breaches, but I mean, until unless a person, any consumer, they may like have a data breach, but until unless it is having some economic impact on that or a commercial impact on that, I think it will not get reported.
That's true. It depends on the damage.
Exactly. It depends on the impact of the damage. So even, I mean, when you do the risk assessment also, we only talk about the like high risk factors. I mean,
Can I add one thing here, Debarshi here? I think in GDPR, because the penalty is so high, even if it's not the damage, I can accuse the company, say they didn't remove my data, so I can get some money. So if the penalty is huge,
I mean, that is the, that is the thing. Even in India, like we get a lot of calls, like, I mean, like there are telemarketing calls. I mean, sometimes we ask also like how you got this like kind of a number and what I'm doing. So again, it is basically the data correlation. I mean, they are basically taking the data from somewhere, some source, and they are talking about they are getting from the database. So this is like, I mean, something on the user, like, I mean, user data, policy, privacy, I mean, how we can prevent. And there are like corporates, as Shannon, Tony, they are also like put some points on like corporate things, corporate behavior. Now, one thing, as Shannon very, very clearly, described that we are very, very careful. We should be very, very careful about the risk assessment of our vendors. So that is very important. Although we have we made all the culture, we have made all the like protections, we had trained our people, we have trained our like IT people, we have trained up, we have very stringent policies, we have very stringent management who supports the data privacy. However, there are some things which happen through our vendors, and ultimately the organization is getting impacted. And ultimately, like, so that is a very, very important point. I mean, as being an information security officer, we do have clients, and we do get, I do get risk assessments or vendor risk assessments. Now that should be very, very done through due care, and due diligence should be maintained. I mean, in case not there, anything is not there, we should not actually, I mean, we can definitely, there should be some effort, there should be some commercials, there should be some management approvals. However, we should be like doing it very, very due diligently, so that in future, like we should be not getting impacted through our client. Any breach happened and we get our breach impacted in our organization. So to summarize, I would only like say that we should be like change our culture, not like only making the policies like governing. I mean, we should not change our organization. We cannot safeguard our organization through any breaches if we don't take care to change the culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
We'll leave the question at the end if we still have time. Last but not least, the floor is yours, Krishna, please.
Hi, thanks, Tony. Finally, I'm the last one, but I want to make it pretty short and sweet so that I'm not between the participants and the lunch, right? So thanks, Shannon, and thanks, Albino, and of course, Debarshi, that yes, they have touched upon almost what I wanted to cover. But yes, a clear definition of just to make aware to the participants that yes, ISO is standards and principles, and data protection, data privacy is law. So do consider that yes, law is bigger than standards and principles, right? And it has its impact, it has its consequences. Just to set the notion and make it more lighter, we are all concerned about privacy, right? One thing, of course, it's us to blame as an user as well, be it a normal user, and when we move to our corporate environments, see, we are habitual to getting everything free, right? So the moment you talk about free is danger, right? So at least now, after looking at whatever the social media is, the biggies of the social media, the Facebooks and the WhatsApp, we have seen that yes, that's the business model is about how your free data has been taken up, and they are earning millions and billions of dollars, and it's time for them to pay back to us in data privacy, right? I was also looking at some of the questions which was been scrolling, right? How do you take care about the agreements, the current agreements of your customers and your yourselves, right? So if I look at from a corporate organization perspective, you need to relook at your cloud agreements, you need to look at your processor agreements, your supplier agreements. What is the basic thumb rule? The thumb rule is that you need to do a privacy impact assessment of what amount of data, be it in a corporate world, it has impacted, right? So you need to look at what is the amount of data which has been impacted, whom you have shared, what type of data you have shared, where it has been shared, who is accessing that, all of that, right? So there should be a privacy impact assessment, right? Data added across, right? And it's all there. How would you analyze that? Yes, your data has been secured. How will you keep it secured, right? And what is the channel through which you're going to keep it secure, right? That's one. Secondly, from a data privacy perspective, you will hear about certain terminology like anonymization and pseudonymization, right? What does it mean to you, right? Anonymization is that sort of data where you actually, once you anonymize it, you cannot recover it, right? Even for the original guy who has done that, he would not be able to. But that is what GDPR says, or data privacy says, that we don't recognize. Means it's a loss of data, right? The moment you're not able to recognize or reinvent the data which you have already massaged or masked, then it's anonymization. Pseudonymization is where the data protection, different data protections across the globe have recognized. It means it's a recoverable. The moment I see a data, it is recoverable, and that's very important. And second, all of us are today concerned about different channels, social media channels, tying up with payment gateways and stuff like that, right? Like there's a lot of a gungo over why WhatsApp suddenly is becoming the payment gateway, right? And they are publishing the agreements. See, uh, we let's understand, everybody is in business, right? And they started free, something free. There was a certain motive behind that, right? And the motive was that, yes, what if it's not just free, but I'll have to take something out of that. So, and when you're talking about WhatsApp, through, if you do a payment through a WhatsApp, right, is it secure, is it not secure? Very simple, it is secure. But what is important to understand is how the banks and the payment gateways have collaborated with social media channels like these, and how they want to keep the data secure. So its onus is on the responsibility of these controls, like the banks and the WhatsApps of the world, to control, to have a informative, secretive controls which needs to be implemented as part of your data protection and data privacy. Important note as far as the user world, let's now, this is all corporate world, right? About the user world, we need to understand that the current devices, even today, everybody has some of the other really high connected devices, be it your smart TVs or your Alexas and of the world, right? Now, while we feel that it's making us more informative, it's also making you more handicapped, right? So let's understand, all these instruments or these smart, whatever you call it smart, right? They are capturing some sort of data from you, be it your audio, be it your video, right? Point to be noted here is, whatever you are sharing, please make it a point that what you share is what you get, right? Like you share your details, you get your free channels to play around with yourself, but at what? It is at your risk. So as Albion, Shannon, Debarshi has rightly mentioned, risk management, risk assessment, risk treatment, privacy impact assessment. Now, privacy impact assessment is what is a key area which needs to be done by organization. In my different consulting and training experiences, what I've seen is customers do not want to differentiate between an ISO 27001 and a GDPR data protection, right? It has to be complete. It has to be dealt with separately, right? One is a standard and one is a law, because data protection has a lot of penalty, as Debarshi has mentioned, right? It's a huge, and Tony, you, of course, you also said, right? It's a huge mentioning about huge impact, financial impact, economic impact, reputational impact, right? So risk management needs to be done, and as crisis as well. Like, what if the data is breached? What is the data is leaking? What would happen if this falls in the hands of a cyber hacker, right? What he would do with the data? So it's all about that, right? So protect yourself is the key message what I want to give. But yes, protect with your intelligence, with your information, and see what you want to expose, and see what you don't want to expose. With that note, Tony, I want to keep it short. Yes, I'm open to questions, right? Thanks, Tony.
Nope, Tony,
Right.
you're muted.
Tony, we
Tony,
can
you're muted.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Technology
there?
failed.
Right.
The technology always fails.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you all panelists. Thank you, Albion, Shannon, Divya, Shrikrishna, Debarshi. I think we have given the message to everyone that there is no silver bullet for information security or privacy. We have to be always on our toes and make sure that whatever we give as an information, as a private information, where it's going to be used and who's going to use it, and to be sharp about it. And from company perspective, it's not like something you dream about security. You have, there is a long process. You can pick whatever you want from any framework, from any standard, but you have to do it. Thank you all.
Thanks,
I don't
Tony.
think
Thank
there's
you.
any question. I leave the floor to Sanjay.
Thank you.
Any questions, please?
Till now, we don't have any question because the questions was already shared with Tony.
And all of them are answered. Yes.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
no more questions.
yeah, all are answered, I believe. So, Tony, you can wrap up the session now.
All right. The session is, I think we're done. The message has been dispersed to everyone. Go be cautious about your information, about your data, protect your companies, and this is the message. Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, all the panelists, for sharing their vast knowledge and making us more aware about the use of IT and related risks, to be more careful. And we can definitely plan more on cyber risk management and ultimately mitigation of the risk arising out of it. I hope we have lived up to the theme of this panel, which is data privacy, breach, information security, cyber security, gap analysis, and mitigation plan. What is left in between, I think our esteemed panelists would have covered everything. So thank you so much once again for all the panelists. So now it is time for lunch. But before that, I just want to say that this may not be lunch time for everyone. So some people will go for a breakfast or a dinner, and in India we will discuss for a lunch. Since morning we are sitting, so we will cut short on our lunch we'll disperse for about 15-20 minutes. I hope that will be okay, so that we can make up for the loss of some time and continue our journey of learning. So let's I would request that we disperse